Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, choosing suitable funds, part 4 in our series on saving for retirement in your working years. And we're going to talk a little bit about choosing the right funds. And remember, right up front, I need to know time horizons, when am I going to need this money, and what kind of risk do you have? Now, I've talked about this before. I met a couple that were in their mid-30s. I asked them to take a risk tolerance test, which they did. It came back so conservative, and I tried to explain that over the 30 and 40 years, the Ibbotson chart, the chart that basically tracks the market and the returns, has been always increasing. We used to call it euphemistically the mountain chart. And there's dips and peaks and valleys, of course. But over the long haul, it seems to increase. So the market's a good place for long haul thinking. But they did not have the propensity for risk. So it doesn't matter what I said, if they can't live with a down market. If you went through 2008 and you were a wreck, I'm just going to have to be more conservative, even though I know in the long haul it'll work. But I can't hold people's hands whose hearts aren't there on the issue of risk. So that's the first thing. Now, target date funds works on the premise that you know your actual retirement. Now, if you're a boomer right now, half of us, our full retirement age is age 66. The other half is 67. And there's a good block of people that as we get older, you're going to see these numbers push out. Before you know it, really the first full retirement date is going to be sitting at 70 for some people already. I think they're also going to move up the soonest you can take it out, which today is age 62, which I cannot recommend. Knowing that you're getting a 25% discount off your full retirement age, you're going to pay taxes on that if you're still working. It doesn't make sense. You need to hold off and wait till age 70. Don't wait till 80. Although millennials, maybe they're going to be waiting till 80. So I want to look at target date funds. When am I going to retire? Do I know that number? So let's just go on the premise right now today of a normal baby boomer whose full retirement age is 66 or 67. And I know that I'm going to retire. That could be 5 years. That could be 7 years. I need to start looking at that and making target funds, which I can use, which are going to be based on my horizon. Those funds will then target that date and make their balances and their decisions, their glide path to get to that number in the most safe possible way and still be invested in the market. Of course, if it's in mutual funds and ETFs, look, you can lose your money, so I'm not going to say you can't. They're just going to be more steered or actually targeted towards your horizon. You're going to pick that horizon, and we're going to manage to that number. So if I'm retiring at age 67, age 70 in my case, I'm going to be looking at age 70, and all of a sudden I've noticed my target funds are changing because I'm getting closer and closer, more conservative. The beta risk on those funds is dropping. Their risk, their exposure, it's getting less. So even though I still have exposure to the market, I'm now moving more and more to conservative positions. Target date funds could be the way to go. It's not for everybody, but if you know your horizon and you know the time you're retiring, that could be an excellent issue. Now, I've talked about risk in the most generic, but I want to talk a little bit about the pyramid risk and let you look at some of this. Again, this is right out of our book about retirement and investing. Look at this. I was young in my 20s and 30s. I was aggressive and I did foolish things with my money, I have to say. But when I got into actually investing for my retirement, I was like, I got 30 years, I'm going aggressive stocks. And so I went through all the way up until 2000. It was not that bad. I had a pretty good return. But in 2001, 2, and 3, I had a major league wake-up call. We had 3 straight years of the S&P index going south, and then in 2008, we had a black swan event. You know, it's one thing to have a correction in 2001. It's another thing to enter from a correction to a bear market, and now we have a bear market for 3 straight years. But then we have a black swan event, which is this anomaly that nobody can ever predict. They can't see it coming. Even the technical readers can't really predict it. There's no prophet of the actual Wall Street walking around saying black swan event's coming. So we have to look at our timeline, which we've already talked about, fix a date in the future, and then look at the risks that we need to take. Most of us that are now in our 60s are taking limited risks, lower risks. We're trying to now stay low because our timeline is shorter and we can't take another 2008. I cannot take a bear market where I have 2, 3 years in succession. So I'm conservative now. I've started to pull in my aggressive. I've changed from when I was in my late 20s, early 30s to now into my early 60s, mid 60s. Everybody changes their look. So whether you're lower risk, limited risk, moderate risk, or higher risk, that may depend on your timeline more than it is as a risk taker. I just don't have that recovery time. So think about it. Most people in qualified plans that were hit hard in 2008, and I mean hit hard, only recovered around 2015. So you went from 2008, it took about 7 years to recover those losses. So I just want to encourage you, remember, the closer you get to retirement, you need to look at these traded date funds. You need to look at that. You need to look at moving and rebalancing your portfolio to more conservative positions. You don't want to go completely out of the market. I'm in the market. I need the market for inflation. I need the market to beat down the cost of living, and so that I can really have some growth in my portfolio. The power of your purchasing dollar is so important in retirement. And if we don't have a little bit of an edge, a little bit of growth, part of mine has to be there. It just has to. People say, why are you in the market, Steve? Mostly for inflation. So moderate risk and higher risk. When I'm younger and I have a timeline that's forever, and I understand that the market has ups and downs, peaks, and could be big valleys, I'm willing to look at higher risk. Remember, take a risk tolerance test. Do it separate from your spouse. Answer the questions honestly. Don't answer them like you're trying to be a guru here. Just answer them honestly. For example, I have noticed in my career of 35 years of being in the business that if I can take a result from a female on a risk tolerance test and then I look at her 401k holdings, they seem to be very similar. Whereas a male, her counterpart, many times, I'll look at the risk tolerance test, which seems to be moderate and somewhat conservative moderate, but the 401k is very aggressive and the beta risk is way higher. I often ask my male clients, did you answer the actual test correctly? Did you answer it honestly? Or do you know that you're not really built to take the risk that you have over here in your 401k? You need to match up your risk tolerance against your actual holdings. And good financial advisors understand this, and they'll walk you through it. And it's the pastoral part of our business. We're trying to make sure that your thinking, your mindset agrees with what you actually hold. Now, so I'm looking, the younger I am, I'm looking at higher risk, my horizon's out there, and I think I have long-term thinking. A lot of people say, I just don't want to do a collection of mutual funds and ETFs. A lot of people, mutual funds, so they punt to ETFs. And one of the reasons is because a lot of these indices are fairly cheap. They're cheaper than at least most of the time mutual funds, but they also target big indices that we know. They could be foreign, they could be domestic. Most Americans are familiar with the S&P 500. They kind of default to that. I kind of like the S&P 500, low cost management. They have 500 different companies involved in that, and it seems to be the vanguard. And we even have a risk indicator called the VIX that ties itself to the S&P. We kind of can see the trends that are happening, and I kind of like that. So sometimes doing the index itself, just on the cost issue, could be a way to modify your risk. But look at what risk you are. Most risk tolerance tests are going to either measure you like you're conservative, conservative moderate, moderate, moderate aggressive, and aggressive. They're generic categories, but it'll kind of at least begin to give you an indication of what you should be doing. And then the last thing I want to talk about is basic asset allocation models. And we're using this wonderful little strip right from our book. Notice these three. This is certainly not science. It's just an example. So I'm just giving you an idea of what it might look like if you're just entering in, you're just learning about this. An aggressive, 80% stocks, 10% bonds, 10% cash. That's an asset allocation model, very generic, very general, and that's aggressive. Notice then we move over to the moderate. It's 60%, so we've already cut our stocks from 80% to 60% holdings, 25% in bonds, and 15% in cash. So bonds and cash actually rose up in our moderate. But when you get over to conservatives, here's another whole case of really thinking this through. You're looking at 40% stock. Remember, we were way over here, double that over at the aggressive side. 40% stock, 40% bond, and 20% cash. Again, these are generic indicators. I'm just giving you an example, especially if you're coming into the market now and you're kind of new to all this. These are basic platforms. And remember, a good financial advisor that can walk you through this, especially who has time in the business, he's been around, she's been around, can walk you through this and make sure you take a risk tolerance test, and then you can measure your portfolio holdings to see which one you should be into. Remember, asset allocation and diversity and time. If I know my time, I want to diversify all my eggs. I don't want to have them all in one basket. And I want to diversify my holdings based on my psychological profile, my psychonomics, if you will. Aggressive, moderate, and conservative are the big macro categories of how we think. There's so many iterations of this. Believe you me, there's 9 different iterations that we can play on this. I'm just giving you the basics so that you can sit there and say, I need to choose a fund that's suitable for my retirement. And I'm looking at this as a basic educational learning curve to come to that position so I can make a good decision. Don't forget to watch our next segment on portfolio planning, part 5 in our series on saving for retirement in your working years. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on the show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or your financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.